The Antithesis. The Schift of Ushida Uryu, the best friend of rival Kurosagi Ichigo, got this sacred letter from Yu after he joined the Quincy King during the Thousand Year Blood War arc. With this power, Uryu is able to switch to target and reverse anything that has already occurred between the two of them. For example, if Uryu got injured by his enemy, he can reverse his physical condition with that of the target opponent, so all the damage he received is redirected to that opponent. This power also allows him to switch the position of an object with that of another target. This is shown in the anime when Yuhabak throws his medallion outside of Kiryu Hikifune's Cage of Life prison, and Uryu uses his power to switch the object with his majesty position, allowing him to escape the trap. Consider this as a teleportation technique that is very similar to the Trafalgar Law Opie ability, Shambles. It's still not very clear that if the power of Antithesis allows him to switch everything he wants or the ability as some sort of limitation. Maybe the only limitation of the activation of his power is the difference of Reiatsu, since Uryu has to use his full standing power up to turn Senjumaru's Bankai to herself. The Balance. The leader of the Sternritter's Haschwaldt's Schift is called Balance. It is essentially the power to convert someone's good fortune into his or another target's misfortune. He can also absorb misfortune directed at him, which results in damage and injuries inflicted on him, into his shield and send it back to his opponent amplified in power. Usually, the misfortune being sent back manifests itself as an invisible attack of off-scale power, or in the weakening of a characteristic of the target. I know it's not easy to understand, but let's try to give an example. During the execution of Kang Du, Haschwaltz transforms his good fortune of having survived the duel with Hitsugaya into misfortune, which in this case translates into the weakening of the power of Kang Du's Schift. In this way, Haschwaltz manages to overcome Kang Du's iron skin and cut him in two. Another event that we can take as an example is during the battle against Division Zero. Haschwaltz considers Oetsu Nimaya lucky in not having to face his majesty Uabak, and also using his Schift, the Balance, he takes this good fortune, he converts it into misfortune, and then redirects it into the Cage of Life, destroying it. The Compulsory. The Compulsory is the Schift of Pernita Pernita, the left arm of the Soul King. Damn, this name is so difficult. This isn't a power given by Uabak like other Schift, but Pernita's unique ability. This power consists in nerve control. Pernita can shoot his nerve from its finger to control opponents' movements or tear their bodies apart instantly by twisting them. His nerves can also go through objects and manipulate them, like moving grounds or walls. And last but not least, he can also manipulate energy stuff with those nerves, like the arrows of Reishi that he fires. The Death Dealing. The Schift of Askin's Naglevar, the laziest and the listest member of the Sternritters, basically a Shikamaru of the Quincy, lets him calculate and manipulate the lethal dose of any substance he ingests, making it fatal to others. For example, by consuming large amounts of blood, he can lower its lethal dosage in an opponent's body, rendering it deadly. This dose manipulation grants him a healing or immune factor too, by raising his own lethal dosage to something he can speed up his regeneration effect, while by analyzing the energy or substance of an attack received he can create an immunity to that. This is quite crazy OP ability in my opinion. In his full standing mode, the immunity ability of the Death Dealing is buffed. He no longer needs time to analyze the energy of the attack, but he can adapt to it instantly. Askin's signature attack is called Gift Ball. These balls that move very slow is something very powerful. It is so deadly that even Grimmjow collapses immediately after he touches it. Askin can also create a pool around him and control the lethal dose of anything in the area. Another fancy technique he uses is the Gift Ring. It may look like a direct physical attack, but actually is a gift ball with local effects. Launching this ring, it will shrink in size, and by hitting the target, an eye for example, it can cause an instant death of that part of the body. The Explode. This Schift grants Bambiera, a little girl who behaves as a sadistic mistress, the power to create devastating explosions by turning anything Hireishi comes in contact with to a bomb. This power is so powerful and devastating because it can't be blocked and can be casted 360 degrees, causing huge AoE damage. She can also create explosion around her by just releasing Hireishi. I think it's probably that she can turn the air into explosions too. Her Volt standing doesn't change much about his ability, but the immense increase of Reiatsu allows her to generate tons of Reishi balls in no time, so she can make a bombardment barrage without effort. The fear. The fear is the shrift that induces overwhelming terror, causing victims to lose rational thought and experience visions of their worst nightmare. As Not, a very creepy guy, can induce this status with his thorns of Reishi that he uses as arrows. Just one touch of the thorn is enough for his power to take on and spread in the mind of the victim. This contagion can even spread through walls, crowds, and the surroundings, like a virus contamination, you can say. The fear that this ability induces is powerful enough to break someone's mind or making him having a heart attack. Even with great force of will and self-control, it is hard to stay calm and focused during a battle. Even Kuchiki Byakuya can't do that. In his Volt standing form, the power of the fear is buffed, as he no longer needs the target been in contact with his Reishi. In his presence alone, can invade minds through the optic nerve. To make it simple, just a simple glance of him can cause you infinite nightmares. Oh, he's also having a technique that creates a dome around you, so that you can't avoid to watch him, and trust me, he is not a good looking guy after this transformation. The Glutton. The Glutton allows Little Toto, a little girl that acts like a tomboy, to eat anything, from living being to inanimate object. She can transform her mouth into a massive maw and can also extend and change the form of her mouth as she likes. There is a downside of this power. The owner is always hungry. We can say that Little Toto is just Gluttony from Fullmetal Alchemist with a cute, lowly appearance. The Heat. The Heat is the shrift of the hot-headed, outspoken young man Baz B. This is a straightforward ability. With this power, Baz B can create flames, very powerful flames, powerful enough to match Ryujin Jaka, the Captain Commander Zanpakuto. Baz B used to attack using his finger. By pointing a finger to the target, he shoots a beam of fire that incinerates everything in a straight line. He can also increase the power and the temperature of the flames by increasing the number of fingers. The Iron. The Iron, as the name said, allows Kangdu, the Asian guy of the group, to coat his body with an impenetrable layer of iron, rendering him nearly invulnerable to physical attacks. Nothing more is shown as he ends dead pretty soon in the 1,000-year arc. The Jail. The jail grants his owner, Kirige Opie, to create cages of Reishi capable to trap every enemy inside him. The peculiarity of this power is that whoever is trapped inside is completely isolated from the outside. His presence and Reiatsu are completely sealed off, although the one inside the cage can hear and perceive what is happening outside. The opposite does not happen. Plus, the cage is very difficult to break that even a Getsuga Tensho fails to destroy it. The Love. This shrift is a power of the manipulative type. His owner, Pepe Wakabrada, a weirdo old man, can fire bullets of Reishi to his targets with a heart shape. Anyone hit becomes infatuated with him and obeys his command, even if it means attacking allies. His power can control inanimate objects, but it is possible to take control over Zanpakuto, because these swords have a soul inside. This sounds like deja vu, right? There is an espada with a very similar ability. Go check it, I made a video about them. The Volt-standing form of this pervert old man does not buff this power, but allows Pepe to use a rope made of links of little heart that can stab his target and immobilize him. It is not clear if the one stabbed by the rope is under Pepe's control or not. The Miracle. This shrift, like the Pernita's one, is a unique ability of his owner and not given by Yuabak. It is possessed by Gerard Valkyrie, a brawny warrior that is always excited. This power allows him to manifest Miracle. I know it's a bit difficult to understand, so stay focused on this. As Gerard said, his ability makes the impossible possible. This can manifest itself in different ways, like regeneration, growing in size, or learning new abilities. Let me make some examples. If Gerard faces some opponents more powerful than him and he recognizes that, the Miracle allows him to gain the strength he needs to win the battle. If he gets defeated, the Miracle allows him to heal up by converting the damage in power, by admitting that he is unable to sense someone's presence. The Miracle immediately allows him to do that. This power also grants his sword, Hoffnung, the ability to reflect the damage. What else can we say? It's just an overpowered ability that he has because he is the heart of the Soul King. I wonder what would happen if he faced Hashwaltz as an enemy. Can the Miracle overcome the balance, or the balance is the natural counter of this insane power? Let me know what you think would happen if these two started a fight. The Overkill. This Schift allows the owner to increase his power with every kill he makes, growing stronger every time he makes a victim. It is not clear how the level up works since this girl Bercy, the owner of this ability, was no match for Yamamoto Genryusai. The power. This is another straightforward Schift. Don't need to waste too much words on it, it simply makes the owner, the clumsy Meninas in this case, a superwoman, and that's it. The Vol standing does not empower the ability, it just gives two Reishi-made dumbbells to use as a weapon. The question. This Schift is a bit weird. Berenice, a very talkative guy and owner of this power, can harm an opponent by ejecting his action. The latter is forced to answer, and if he can't overcome the objection with another one, he got penalized and can be harmed by Berenice. I think this is a perfect Schift for someone that likes to quarrel and is a pro in that. Unfortunately, Berenice came to face Zaraki during the invasion. And you know, Zaraki's just Zaraki, so there's no more information about this power. The Roar. The roar grants the ability to make a very powerful roar that creates strong, lethal sound waves. It was the Schift of Jerome Gulspat, a man that looks like a big gorilla. He also was defeated by Zaraki. The Superstar. This is a very funny power. It is owned by Mask the Masculine, a very muscular wrestler, and his partner, James, a superfan that looks like a baby. The ability consists in empowerment from cheering. Mask can heal and buff himself through receiving cheering from his partner. This power-up is very strong and probably goes exponentially. The weaknesses of this Schift is that Mask can't obtain a power-up by cheering himself. It must be another person to do that, and the buff he obtains is temporary. The mutual death of these two is a condition to win, since Mask can recover thanks to James, and the little boy can also regenerate for some unknown reason. The Thunderbolt. This Schift allows Candace to generate, control, and project lightning bolts with great precision. This short-tempered and very impatient girl typically conjures lightning in her hands and directs it toward her targets. Additionally, she can summon powerful bolts from the sky to strike multiple enemies at once. The Vol-standing form of Candace buffs the power of the Thunderbolt. In this form, she can use her wings like a lightning sword or throw them as a javelin, and by having more Reishi, the lightning are much powerful than before. The Underbelly. The Underbelly is quite an unusual power. It grants the ability to analyze the target's Reiatsu over time, mapping out their spiritual power distribution. This allows the user of this ability to pinpoint the weaknesses of that Reiatsu distribution so he can target these points, causing the spiritual power to run out. Imagine it as an Okuto Shinken style that affects Reiatsu. The main downside of this ability is that it needs a long time to analyze the target Reiatsu, but maybe this is a weakness of the character that in this case is Nanana Najakup, a weird name for a weird guy. The Visionary. The Visionary lets Gremmy to turn his imagination into reality. By imagining something, he can bring it to life. Whether it's making himself stronger than steel or turning bones into cookies, or instantly heals injuries. He can also create elements like lava or water, and even generate weapons like machine guns or missiles. These are all real stuff, not some simple illusion that some captain creates with his Bankai. Gremmy's power, while incredibly powerful, does have weaknesses. Like if he shifts his focus or attention away from the target, it can revert to its original state. He has to make a good valuation about the enemy's power, otherwise he can't find a good way to counter it. Another important downside is that he has to control his consciousness or he can imagine his own defeat. That is what happened when he fought Zaraki Kenpachi. He imagined his power to be as great as Zaraki's, but his body could not handle such power and broke apart, revealing his real aspect. Brain in a protective casing. The Wind. The Wind grants Nainzel, a guy with a forked tongue, the ability to deflect attacks from himself by redirecting them away. This ability works even on solid attacks like swords, causing them to bend away from Nyanzel. Additionally, he can use the wind to cut opponents by simply moving his finger, which bends their bodies out of the way. Apart from all this, there is still a weakness to this power. Nyanzel has to be focused on using it. As is shown in the anime, Senjumaru succeeded a sneak attack on him while he was focused on eliminating the soldiers. The X-Axis. The X-Axis makes Lilebaro a very powerful opponent. This ability grants him to pierce everything. Everything he aims and shoots will have a nice circular hole. What his rifle shoots is not a physical bullet or energy beam, but an invisible force that pierces in a straight line to his target. This power also gives him the ability to being intangible after he opens both of his eyes. This happens because with both eyes open, he applies the essence of X-Axis to himself, making his body pierce through everything. In his full-standing form, the power of X-Axis is buffed. He can fire multiple shots in his first form and can delete a large area with a single shot in his second form. The transformation of Lilebarro makes him look like a divine creature. In full-standing, he is way stronger than the other Quincy. Only Pernida and Gerard can be considered as the same level, but these two are not simple Quincy as we already know. The Yourself. The Yourself is a Schift of two brothers, Lloyd and Royd. Damn, this is a good tongue twister. The power of the Yourself allows them to transform into another person, but there is a little difference about the two versions. The Lloyd ones is more focused on replicate spiritual power and ability of the target. This version is more powerful in combat. The Royd ones, instead, can replicate memories and personality, and this version is more suitable for camouflage. The Zombie. The Zombie allows Giselle, a girl that always has a goofy face, to control anyone who comes in contact with her blood, turning them into obedient corpses that follow her commands. This ability can also affect dead Quincy. Bambietta is her favorite zombie, by the way. The effectiveness of her power depends on the target's Reiatsu. Low Reiatsu requires just a drop of blood, while high Reiatsu needs blood spread throughout the whole body. This is why Zombified Captain have red skins. Giselle's zombie control can be overridden by Pepe's The Love Power. Oh, and one last thing. Giselle actually is a guy.